and welcome to this week's edition of WCS Sports Connection. I'm your co-host, Jeremy Qualls, and with us as always, our resident football expert and Austin Peay fan, Tate Mathews. Tate, week 4 in the books, a lot of games that I didn't call, obviously, because I went 4-3. You went 6-1 for the week. You did really well in your pick'ems. Some of these games I just didn't see coming. You know, you look at these slate of games, and the Nolensville game sticks out. Obviously, the Centennial game, we knew it was going to be an uphill battle, but I really thought this game would come down to the wire, be a little closer than what it looks like. But let's start with Brentwood at Stewart's Creek. Big win for the Bruins, 45-33. What do we know about this game?
I know Coach Crawford wasn't real happy. You're always happy with a win. I shouldn't say that. He wasn't real happy with the way the team started off, okay? And so this is a game they thought they could have got in and taken care of early and got some young guys to play, which is big for later on in the season, building depth, but didn't get to do that. But they did. They came back and got it together and got a big win. But, yeah, I don't think this was I don't think he was as pleased with this performance as he has been the previous 3. So, but they ended up playing well. Tank Star, big Tank Star, got him a fumble recovery for a touchdown. It's always fun to see one of the big fellas be able to get in the end zone. But congratulations to him. Granzow had a rushing touchdown and a throwing touchdown. He keeps getting better. I saw some of his highlights on the touchdown Friday or whichever one it was, late Friday night. He throws a good ball. He's going to keep getting better. And then Jordan Nicholas, with 3 touchdowns. This guy, that's all this guy seems to do so far, 4 weeks into the season. We got all those weapons, but he's by far been Mr. Reliable, Mr. Consistent, and played a big part of that. So, you know, hard to be upset about a 45-33 win, but upset's not the right word. But they did not play as crisp as he would have liked to have seen them going into the 4th game of the season. And we know it goes without saying that won't get it done this week. But those guys know that too. And again, you know, you were a coach. You put that film on, you can say whatever you want to. Those are smart kids. That was not the best team they faced all year long, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, it's easy to also go ahead and look ahead into this week 5 back on Friday night thinking what lays ahead. And that, you know, that obviously is the Battle of the Woods with Ravenwood. But at the same time, you play in Stewart's Creek. You got to stay focused throughout those 4 quarters to finish it out, like you said, or it'll make the coach's hair go gray, or in his case, make it be pulled out and shaved close to his head.
Make his goatee go.
That's right. That's right. McKechnie, you mentioned 62 yards. Williams, 47 yards. Merrill, Chase Bishop, 7 yards. You know, each night, any of those 4 wide receivers could have a big night. I think that's key to this. People saying, well, you know, Bishop only had 7 yards. Well, he could potentially go for 100 next week. I mean, it's just one of those deals. Who's getting all the coverage as far as defensively goes on this matchup? It's hard to get all 4, and they're going to continue to have big nights, which opens up those running lanes for Jordan Nicholas. And, you know, he had 95 yards like you mentioned. But once it's clicking on all cylinders, this offense and this receiving core they have is going to be really, really deadly. Yeah,
I think so. And like I said, you know, Granzell's a sophomore, and so I don't care how good he is. He's a sophomore, but he's getting better every week. He's got 4 games under him now, and you can't, with those weapons that they've got, you can't put more than 7 in the box against them, because if you do, they got 3 guys out. You're not going to be able to cover those guys, man. Makes sense? So the better that Granzow gets, they're not going to be able to load the box up against Brentwood, and so those running lanes are going to be there. I'd like to see – I keep waiting to see one of those guys. They're so explosive with Bishop and Williams and Merrill. I keep waiting to see a kick. I want to see a kick go back. I think that's something that really would add another dimension to these guys. But trust me, they'll play differently this week than they did Friday night.
Well, the Bruins move into week 5, 4-1. Only one blip on the radar on the schedule, if you will. That was that 3-point loss to Cane Ridge. I think we'll see that loss avenged later on in the year. Obviously, Ravenwood will be moving into this week undefeated. But Franklin, 500 team, arguably the best 500 team out there right now. They're on a trend, an upward trend for the Rebels right now. They're sitting at 20. They beat McGavock 21-9. What do we know about this game, and what is the outlook right now for the Rebels as far as what their mindset is moving forward?
I think they got to be happy. They're 2-2. They're 0-2 in the region. They lost those by a combined 7 points. against who right now you got to say are the two best teams in the region, right? 1 and 2, maybe 2 of the best teams in the mid-state. So they've lost a combined 2 region games to both of the Woods, Ravenwood and Brentwood, by a combined 7 points. Had a chance to win both of them. So I think they feel really good about where they are. You know, the weather didn't do any of our WCS teams any favors Friday night, but the thing I thought was odd was they scored all 21 points in the second quarter. So that was a little weird. I know Coach Webb would like to see that offense, play better for 4 total quarters. Again, I'm not so sure that the rain delay didn't have something to do with it, but 2 and 2. They've played probably the best 2 teams on their schedule. I think they got to feel really good. They're getting better. They've got an emerging star in Chancellor Bright. He had another 2 touchdowns. Receiving, Jordan Nicholas is playing very well. Joshua Nichols, is playing very well from the quarterback position. And then Matt Gacka was over 100 yards again last week. Connie Kelton, a young man that you hear Coach Webb talk a lot about. He's the leader of the defense. He had a fumble recovery for a touchdown. So I know this. You look at the remaining 6 games on that schedule, nobody's real excited about seeing Franklin because they're a good football team.
Well, you keep mentioning Gacka. Gacka sounds like a broken record. There's several people we keep repeating. Gacka being one. Harris Lusk of Fairview. You mentioned Chancellor Bright. We mentioned all these people. Andrew Mason, who will be coming up very soon. Matt Gacka has emerged in this conference, TJ Sheffield, as one of those premium athletes, superstars that we have. He is already a household name right now. He's having a really good year. 109 yards, as you mentioned, on 23 carries. This Franklin team, it's just like you said, I know if you ask Coach Crawford and Coach Matt Daniels, they're so glad that they played them early.
Well, no doubt.
And we're going to look ahead, and we'll talk about this in just a minute, how big of a game this week for Independence and Franklin to be playing each other. Because right now, obviously we know who is in first and second. And this game this week coming up in the Battle of the
This changes things a lot.
And the Battle of the Woods is going to determine who's first and who's second.
That's right.
And now you're looking at who's going to get in and what place that's going to potentially be in those 3rd and 4th slots.
The thing you mentioned about Gacka also that I love is, plays linebacker as well. We get the box scores from Coach Webb every weekend, and I don't see any fumbles in there. He carried the ball 23 times Friday night. That's about the norm. He's carrying it over 20 times, and he's holding on to the ball. He's a very good running back.
And if you watch that offense, you see Chancellor Bright. It's a testament to how good he is, because somehow he continues to find ways to get open, number one, and they keep connecting with him on those passes. This guy is going to be super special, and he's got another year in high school.
And so does Nichols.
So, those guys could be a force to be reckoned with before the season's up and then moving into the future of next year.
Yeah, and like we said, they could very easily be 4-0 right now. Think about that. They're not. We're playing the if game, but 7 points away or 8 points away from being 4-0, 2-0 in the region. So, they're playing really well, and they're getting better every week.
Cane Ridge 57, Centennial 26. We knew it was going to be an uphill battle. We know how good Cane Ridge currently is. They're ranked in the top 10, obviously in the state. Centennial coming off that huge, big, shocking win over Independence, 62-40. They come into this game, just not an easy place to win right now. You got hats off to Cane Ridge and Coach Eddie Woods, and the job that he's done up there. They're really a good football team. A lot of athletes, a lot of things going on, good for them. But Centennial, you look forward to who they're going to be playing this coming up week. And it's a perfect time, perfect storm for them to get back on the horse. It's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde style team right now for Coach Matt Kreisky. Up one game, down the next, up one game, down the next. But what do we know right now about this game? Jariel Wilson was a quiet night for him.
Yeah, Cane Ridge has got a really good defense.
Right.
You look at the points. That's the thing. Scoring points is not Centennial's problem. They scored 26 points. Well, you look at the common opponent. Brentwood only scored 24 or 23 against them. They can score points. The problem they're having is, you see that in the Independence game, even though that one was a win, is defense. And so Cane Ridge had the ball a lot. They ran the ball a lot. They had 2 running backs that combined for right at about 500 yards, a little bit over 500 yards. Now, they're 2 of the best running backs in the state, but they're just having a hard time stopping people. So Jariel, he's not getting a whole lot of touches. And then these guys, Jariel's a guy who can make long runs, can break away. You look at a lot of those highlights he's had the first 3 weeks. Well, guess what? Cane Ridge can run. That's the fastest team collectively as a group, team speed that Centennial's seen all year. So, and they're really good. So, I wouldn't be too worried about that. But as far as Jariel, he's going to be fine. They're going to find ways to get him the ball. But and it's kind of like Independence, who we'll talk about in a second. They have got to find a way to stop the run. If they don't, I mean, it's just it's going to be a long second half of the season.
Well, you look at quarterback Grayson Marcel, 187 yards, 17 of 29 passing against Cane Ridge in the loss. But one thing that sticks out to me, the emerging Cougar receiver, Ashari Hainsworth.
Yeah.
Another big game by the big fella. 7 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown. If he can continue doing what he's doing, I think that will maybe alleviate some pressure off of Jariel some.
Well, and part of what Jariel's doing is making it easier for Ashari to get, single coverage out there. But, you mentioned that in the last 2 games. Now, again, this is his first year out. In the last 2 games, he's got over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. He is really, really becoming a weapon. And I love what Grayson Marcel's doing, man. Before the season, he didn't get a whole lot of pub, I guess, for lack of a better word, but he's playing as well as any quarterback around, putting up big numbers. So, yeah, again, Cane Ridge is a really, really good football team. Hendersonville, which just watch the scores. They lost to Blackman, who what do we now know about? Hendersonville lost week 1 to Blackman. What do we now know? Blackman's dang good. Maybe the best team in the mid-state. Hendersonville is really, really good. Cane Ridge is really, really good. Centennial has played a brutal schedule. That's why that Independence win was on a lot of levels, and for a lot of reasons, that's why it was so crucial for them.
Well, let's not forget Johnny Crouch. He's another player in there for Coach Kreisky, a blue-collar worker, if you will. He does a really, really good job for them as well. Racks up some yards, some all-purpose yards for him. But like you said, their strength of schedule right now, Centennial has the toughest strength of schedule of any of the WCS Sports Conference teams right now. Will it pay off? We'll see. They've already beaten, Independence. They've got a leg up in Region 6, 6A play right now on the Centennial-Franklin Independence matchup right there. Those 3 teams, 2 spots. Who's it going to be?
That's right.
Right now they've got a leg up. I think this schedule will pay off for them if they can keep that right front of mind, saying, you know what, we've played a tough schedule. We're getting better throughout the year, and when playoffs come, if they were fortunate enough to get in, anything can happen.
That's right. And you mentioned the Dixon County game. I'm sorry I didn't get to it, but I guess that's what I'm saying. Dixon can run the ball, all right, but they also have they are suspect to giving up the big play, right? So this is a good match for them, but they're going to have to figure out how to run the ball. This would give them 2 region wins. They're going to have to figure out how to stop the run. Sorry.
Right. Hillsboro 20, Independence 17. I think this is a shocking score for a lot of people right now. We mentioned Franklin trending on the upward arc, if you will, right now. Where is Independence falling on that? What do they look like? If you had to draw their trend line right now, what does that look like? Independence has got a lot of questions that need to be answered. They're going to have to do some gut checks. They're going to have to look at themselves and say, are we just going to throw in the towel, or are we going to continue to fight? And I know where Coach Blade will stand on that.
Right. Well, tough loss. They were up at halftime, come out in the second half, and Hillsboro really found that running game, that ground and pound running game. And when they are clicking on that, I've seen it the last 2 years. They're hard to stop, man. They're lining up. They got big offensive line, and they're coming zone right, zone left. I'm assuming that's what they did. And just pounding at you, knowing they got 4 downs to get 10 yards, and it's tough to stop. But that was really the second half. They just could not stop that run. And it takes Independence isn't an offense that likes to sit over on the sideline for long periods of time. It just throws everything off. So. But they started off playing pretty well. Ethan Cash played quarterback, had over 100 yards, 163 yards, threw for a touchdown, 10 for 18. So I think if you read Coach Blade's quote, he said he played well enough for them to win, but they could not stop that run. Gave up over 300 rushing yards, and it really took over the second half. So that was really the story of the game. Got to find a way. TJ was over 100 yards receiving, but you're not going to be able to do it with just him.
Kobe Logan, the running back for Independence, finishes the night 12 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown. It's one of those things where if you look at it on 18 attempts, it seems like a low amount. But it's like you said, it's the best defense for Hillsboro was to what?
Keep offense on the sideline.
Keep the offense on the sideline. And I cannot
keep
remember.
Number 2 on the sideline.
I cannot remember in the 5 years that I've been here that low of amount of pass attempts by Independence.
Yeah, well, and they just didn't have the ball a whole lot, and working a new guy in. Cisco's been the guy the first, 3 weeks. So, and I wasn't there, but that rain, man, that delay, I really think. We've seen how it throws the colleges and the pros off. So why wouldn't it affect 16, 17-year-olds?
Sure. Nolensville, 13, Summit 9. It's worthy of the Ric Flair 2 claps. Woo! And the woo from this crew, because that is their first ever WCS Sports Conference win against the WCS Sports Conference team. 13-9. I was there. Both sides defensively played pretty good. I mean, obviously with a low-scoring affair like this, Summit's offense just never could get going. In their opening possession, Tate, it had a long sustained, well, actually it resulted in a punt. Their second series, they came back, long sustained drive, trademark Coleman, and then a 43-yard touchdown from George Odomegwu right up the gut in their wing T offense. But then after that, never scored again. Yeah,
I think that's if you look at the game outside of number 1, Nolensville getting their first win against another Williamson WCS Sports Conference team, that's the number 1 thing. But I think the biggest takeaway from it is exactly that. They held Summit to 174 yards of total offense, and they held, more importantly, George Odomegwu to 66 yards rushing, and like you just mentioned, he got 43 of them on one run. That is great team defense against one of the best running backs in the state. So, and that's not what we thought going. We thought this game was going to be a lot of points, right? Who was going to score? Because that's what they've both done all year long. And so outside of the Summit Spring Hill game, but so that defense just played really, really well. You're playing with a freshman quarterback. He struggled a little bit Friday night, and that's going to happen, right? And so held the Spartans to 20 yards passing. So I think the Nolensville offense played really, really well. On the flip side, the Summit defense played really, really well,
if you only give up 13 points, you'd think you ought to win.
They only gave up 13 points. 6 of them were field goals. They only gave up 1 touchdown. And they held Colton Dooley, another guy who's just been tearing defenses up. They held him to 71 yards. So Luke Jenkins, 2 for 2, field goals, 1 for 1 extra point for the Knights. He was the leading scorer in the game.
How about that?
Pretty strong.
Well, speaking of defense, that brings us to the WCTV Plays of the Week. Watch these 2 defensive stops by the Knights.
So 2nd down and 17 now. 19 seconds to work with for these Spartans. Ball just inside their own 35-yard line. Here's Wade again, looking, firing, and picked off.
There's Kutris.
So my partner called that one out. Tim Kutris with the big pickoff right there. 11 seconds remaining for Nolensville.
As we see here on the replay, Wade was looking for his running back, Odomegwu, who was lined up on the outside receiver spot. Kutris showing off wheels of his own to stay with Odomegwu. Well, here's your game, folks.
So 51 seconds to go. The freshman Wade, the quarterback for Summit, looks to roll left, in trouble, and sacked! Taken down. Nolensville, a huge defensive effort, and it looks like with 44 seconds to play after the sack, the Knights will come away with this huge victory.
As we see on the play here, I believe, and it is, as I see as it's slower here, big number 80. Stayskell coming in huge, eluding his block and not allowing Wade to find anybody in the end zone.
Right here's a prime example. Big Timmy Stayskell coming to play. Not only does he play and also as well as Kutris with the interception. What do we know about these two guys? Not only do they play really good defense, they're integral parts on the offensive side of things. You mentioned earlier before we went to that play of the week of the quarterback, Destin Wade for Summit. This guy's a playmaker. He's going to be good. There's a few things he's going to have to learn when you roll out to your weak side. It's hard to throw across your body defense, when the defense is coming at you. Some passes, for instance, you look at that pass. George has got him beat. If you put it 3-4 yards in front of George, that's a touchdown.
Right.
Just a few things coming along with. This guy's going to be really good, really special. Do you see Coach Coleman and the wing T starting to move out a little bit into the spread?
No.
Ever?
Not this year. I mean, he's a freshman,
I know.
But you mentioned that even though that Odomegwu was open, what you saw was he's got an arm. I mean, he's 14 years old. He got that thing. He can fling it. So he's just going to continue to get better. But, yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can put on him. That's what they do. They've won a lot of games. There was a halfback pass. You were there. There was a halfback pass.
Could have won the game.
They connect on that. It's a different outcome. So, you can't start, you can't start second-guessing yourself. No. This is what we do. This is what we do well. Plus, he's a freshman. But, yeah, I think you'll start seeing the passing game more and more. But are we going to shotgun 5 wide like Air Donnie Webb?
Well,
no.
That's unfair to say. I guess the thing is it's more called, controlled runs by him. In other words, we're going to make this call, and when you roll out, it's completely designed for you to run and get into those lanes versus,
do that.
Yeah. I think we'll start seeing that because this guy can flat go.
And going back to your first part, back to the Nolensville guys, Stayskool and Kutris, what stands out to me? Both of them, they're always around the ball. Kutris, I think, has an interception in the last 3 games. Kind of, he's kind of like this year's Michael Burdick, man, ball hawk, right? So Stayskool, you see that, always making plays. They're a big part of the offense. Zach Campbell had the only touchdown for the Nolensville Knights, but that's the thing I think is pretty neat. And Coach Derrick's a defensive coach, but Stayskool and Kutris always around the ball.
The thing
guys like that.
The thing that stands out to me, if you watch, when you go back and watch that play of the week, the MVP of those clips is Dr. Bill Harlan on the track after he makes that big sack. I mean, I really think recruiters from the collegiate level may come calling. I'm pretty certain that he had to spend the entire Saturday icing his hamstrings, but he got it done.
He's a runner.
He got it done down there.
He's in pretty good shape.
He did it good. He was very enthusiastic for the Knights, and rightfully so. Huge win. That's a hallmark win for that program.
Big time. Happy for the coaches and their players and their community.
And there'll be many more to come in the future.
Hate that it had to come against one of our own, but pretty neat.
Fairview 49, Waverly 42. The Jackets get the revenge win against the Waverly Tigers last year where they lost 50-49. They went 4-2. Went for 2 last year in overtime and got beat, got stopped 50-49. They get this win this year, 49-42. This is a high-quality win for the Fairview Yellow Jackets.
Yes, it is. And this one was one that is exactly what we thought it would be. We thought it would be a high-scoring affair. It's the third. Think about this. This is the 3rd week in a row Fairview scored 49 points. You think that's a pretty good offense? 3rd week in a row, 49 points, got the win. Cam Harris-Glusk, 4 touchdowns. He had 102 rushing, 132 receiving. He is leading all classifications in scoring right now. That's a big statement because we got like 27 classifications. And no, we got 9. But you think of all the great offensive players across the state of Tennessee, he's leading all classifications in scoring. He had 4 touchdowns. Anybody that was wondering, was this the right move to move him from quarterback to wide receiver? And, and that's the other thing. Can you tailback, we can get him the ball a lot, right? Sometimes a guy that's that athletic, can we get him the ball enough? Obviously they can. Just played really, really well. Logan Nardozzi, another big game carrying the ball. I didn't know he was just a sophomore. He's a dude, man. He's been over 100 yards at least 3 of the 4 games. 2 touchdowns, and then Brock Harris had a really big night passing the ball. He also had a rushing touchdown. It's an explosive offense.
Ravenwood 35, page 7. I think that was kind of what we thought going in. We knew that Ravenwood would kind of wear down that Page team. Page just, no reason to drop their heads. They're a good football team. They ran into a really, really good football program in Ravenwood. What do we know about that game?
I think we all think that Ravenwood was going to win this game anyways. But Page was really banged up, 3-0. The first 3 weeks of the season really took their toll. Cade Walker played a little bit the first quarter, and they said, hey, this isn't this isn't probably in our best interest. Trey Fonts comes in, backup quarterback, 73-yard touchdown pass to Miles Bond. We hear about Burdick all the time. Miles Bond's a playmaker. Go back and just pay attention. He's making plays every week. So I think the rain delay definitely. Again, they had I think a 90-minute one at the Page. Coach Daniels was pleased with the way his guys came in. I'm telling you, there are some people on some of these other shows we hear, what's wrong with Ravenwood? What's wrong with Ravenwood? Coach Daniels is confident, and they're 4-0. They played the first 3 games on the road. They got a win against an undefeated Page team. I don't care if they're 5A or not.
There's a big difference between all those professionals out there and us. And the biggest difference is we actually know what's going on. Let's look at this week. Week 5, here we go. Big games, we're going to save this one for last. Franklin Independence playing for their playoff lives. Hard to believe that we're saying this in week 5. Whew. All right, here's some stats. Rebels are coming in only giving up 14.25 points per game. The Eagles are giving up 40 points per game. What gives in this game?
I don't think the Eagles give up 40 points per game. They don't give up 40 to Franklin, but I do think they give up more than they score. I think Franklin wins the game, but they're not going to score 40 on them.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I have to agree with you. I think you look at these trending lines right now, I really think Franklin's trending up. They're looking for their big signature win of the year. This is the one. They get themselves in the playoffs in this game, and then, and then the rest is up to Independence. They're going to have to beat one of the big 2 before it's over with, which is Brentwood and Ravenwood. Centennial versus Dixon, just what the doctor ordered. Here's your prescription, please. Get back on the horse.
Yeah, I think so too. They go down there, but Dixon will score some points on them now. Again, let's find a way to stop the run. Let's get started early for the Cougars. Let's get some big plays early, get a lead early, get a good, nice win. They win.
Pundits have this as a very large, heavy favorite, plus 27 points in the Cougars' favorite now, in Centennial Cougars' favorite, and I think they roll.
Are you willing to throw popcorn out there?
Not yet.
Okay.
Well, yeah, for this game, Popcorn City.
Okay.
This game right here, though, Williamson has a big night. Franklin, I failed to mention the pundits have them as a plus 13 favorite. I think that's one you better stay away from on that little game. That's a little.
I think they win, but I'm not willing to throw points on it.
Old Sparty goes to Columbia once again. I'm writing a prescription out. I'm handing it out. This is one that they need. 22-point favorite coming in as the pundits have Old Sparty rolling. What do you think?
Old Sparty rolling. Odomegu has a big night. Destin Wade gets back on the upward track.
Page versus Antioch. Antioch has yet to get a win. I think Page wins big.
I think Page wins. I don't think it's big because I think they're still a little bit nicked up, but they win. Page goes to 4-1.
Nolensville at Lawrence County. Lawrence County also looking for their first win.
We added a new feature last week, and it's coming back again. This is a flipping boat race.
Popcorn City.
Put your captain's hat on, Dr. Qualls.
Nolo with a big win. Fairview Camden.
This is a jet boat race.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that's interesting. The pundits have this one a little closer than what you think at plus 13. I'm telling you.
Fairview's good.
Camden, this game has really come down to who's going to win the region championship. Enough about that. Battle of the Woods is this week, man. The pundits have this as a pick 'em. Can you believe that?
I think that's right.
Flip a coin. Who rings the bell?
Well, we're going to pick a game day, aren't we?
Yes.
Here's what I want to know. The last time we went to game day, from the end of the stands all the way to the P and the Raptors on the press box at 6 o'clock, from the top to the bottom, there was not one empty seat. I want to know if they can top that.
You've heard it here, RHS. Student section, he's calling you out. Tate, we'll see you at WCS game day at 6 o'clock at Ravenwood for the Battle of the Woods. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you next time.